Hello everyone, today we will take a look at how I made a video for Halloween. The video creation process took over a week. Careful, we will consider only the project itself. For this video I create a pumpkin model and made an animation. After that I rendered the sequence in PNG format with an alpha channel. Also, I made a PNG mask sequence. We will need it to integrate object inside the pumpkin. Let's consider the project. The very first layer is the gradient fill. Next two layers. This is a picture with a mask. I make the edges of the mask soft. Next is a layer with the stars. This is a rectangle with a noise effect. This method I used to create the stars in the asteroid tutorial. Next layer, group with the moon. Top layer the picture of the moon. The other two layers, the circles, with a gradient radius fill. Next layer, but this is a group with mouse animation frames and flip book property. The next layer is a picture of the house. Layer after that, ground. Here I'm using a texture and mask for him. I add a stroke style to the mask. The result is grass around edges. For the texture I add a colorize effect and noise effect. The latter is needed to impart unevenness to the surface. The next two layers is tree. I got the idea to make these two trees are pumpkin hands. To animate them, I split each tree into pieces and made an FK rig. I also added a control object to animate the rotation of the parts of the tree. The next two layers are a copy of the previous one, but reflected vertically, plus the blur effect. This is how I made the shadow. Well, the last layer is the shadow of the pumpkin. This is PNG sequence with colorize and blur effect. Layer with pumpkin sequence. Next, a shadow for the bottom. This is group. I use the same PNG sequence as a mask, and the bottom layer is a shape with a blur effect. Light spot layer, just a circle with a blur effect. The next layer is the group. Here I'm using a mask in the PNG sequence, which I did in Blender. For here I add a noise effect and blur effect. The noise effect is needed to add detail. The next four layers are clouds. If you watched the lesson with the asteroid, then you already know how I made them. Further groups with a fire. I create a fire animation in Enve in a separate file. Then I import it into the general assembly file. At the first I want to work with the fire as internal scene, but when zooming in or out, the picture in the scene changes, since the while of the blur effect parameter does not react to the scene scale. Careful, I rendered the fire in the PNG sequence and I already worked with it. Here I also use a mask that I made in Blender. Next layer, this is group with letters. Bat layer. We have already considered a similar layer. Again, the layer with bats. Lighting layer. Here I used a curve with a displace effect and blur effect. The next layer is a link to the scene with titles. For this layer I made a mask and animated. Further, casting. This is PNG picture I made to copy. One for the transparency effect, second layer with a mask around the edges to make the cast not completely transparent. A layer with vignette. A layer with a footage of smoke. First, I tried to do it myself in Enve, but unsuccessfully. The last layer, particles. I made them using stroke style animation. Choice the coarse bulk 1 style and animated the brush setting parameters. Well, that's all for today. Thank you all and take care of yourself.